working at a new governance.
That's not the way to look at.
That's great feedback.
That means that staff goes around the developmental minister, who in theory is the leader.
Sure, absolutely. And we had a lot of discussion about this. So I think it's a great point. I agree. But that is our current governance of the church.
And you're putting this in an agreement with the developmental minister. Those specific words were in your report.
What do you mean by an agreement? I just want to make sure
I did not
clear.
print off all the reports because I thought they were going to be available, but they're not.
It's a recommendation. So we're just, there is a
it's
recommendation.
On the second page.
Yes, it's on the second page. And so I'll read it specifically. I have it here. So I think it's important to note that there was, in the community conversations, there was concern from a staffing standpoint that sometimes a new minister would come in, even if it's a developmental minister, and they would come in and maybe clear slate, right? Or make changes from a hiring practice. So we went back in our report in conjunction with the board to specify how does the governance of our church today work, to clarify that so when the new developmental minister comes in. And the governance of our church today is that the board, along with the personnel committee, works with the hiring and firing of staff.
Does your report actually refer to the personnel committee, or does it just report to the board?
It does. Okay. So it says, the board, in accordance with the personnel committee, make it known that hiring staff positions are hired by the board in accordance with the personnel committee, and thus can only be dismissed or fired by those individuals. So it's the board in conjunction with the personnel committee.
I think it is still an important thing to consider, because I don't think the board hired Mary Lindsay. I don't think the board hired Jonah.
Yes, they approved. They always approved.
Okay. That's not the way a business should work. The leader, yes it is. The leader needs to have the authority to hire the people to support, because we're holding that leader responsible. You're not holding the staff responsible.
So I agree. We can change the bylaws, and as we said, that was one of the 3 things that we're going to work on with this developmental minister, is to look at the governance changes, and that's what the board has been working on for the last year as well. So,
Researching it, and we'll look at the bylaws.
but at this time, we don't have the ability to change that.
Okay.
Did we have another question back here? Yes.
The spiritual duties and social justice leadership duties of our current leadership.
Yes.
You know, the senior minister takes that. And I wonder, where will those duties go? Will they devolve on, do we have an associate minister or a secondary minister in place, and will she be doing those duties?
It's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. So the spiritual duties, as far as the messages here in church, as well as social justice work, will still fall to the developmental minister. So that will be part of their responsibility as well. That's what we're requesting. But as we have a whole team of staff here, and we have a congregation that is well-versed in giving messages, we're going to be flexible in how we schedule those the services each week on a monthly basis. But it is the understanding that the developmental minister would handle the spiritual guidance of the church as well as the social justice. It is. It's a lot of work. So we definitely have to find a good candidate.
All right. Are we ready for a vote?
I think
So just to be clear about that,
sorry.
The last thing that Deborah was talking about, so I assume then that the developmental minister, for example, this is just my bailiwick here to think about, would meet with the worship committee to develop the services.
Absolutely.
Just
Yes.
like we do at present.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you.
David has a question too, just behind you.
Based on your research so far, is it likely we'll have to kind of step up a little bit financially to get the kind of person that we're looking for?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So Bob Day, of course, was on our lead minister transition team, and Bob has a lot of experience not only on the finance side, but also with UUA general requirements, right, for salaried positions within the staffing industry. And Bob's recommendation, as well as our meetings with the UUA transitions team out of Knoxville, both recommended that we're going to have to step up to the midpoint of salary for a UUA minister. And we are now currently below the midpoint, so it would be increase in a salaried position. That is correct.
I just wanted to respond to the two previous comments. As lead minister, I'm already involved in, the lead minister now is already involved in the board, the resource and development council, which includes the finance, and the different task force, like Building for Our Future. So yes, that is part of any minister's job, lead minister's job, to also be involved with the institutional things as well as the spiritual things. So that will not be, it's great you're going to mention it, but
Sure.
It's not going to be that much different than what you have. You're just going to have somebody who you're making sure has that specific experiences you've listed.
I think that's a good point, Gail, and we're not asking any of them to lead that necessarily, so there will be committee chairs that still lead, right, the BFF and the governance changes. They're not going to be the leader of that organization. We're just asking them to bring their expertise into those committees, so that's a great question. Yes, can we have time for one more question?
Yeah, one more
Okay.
question.
So apologies if you've gone over this because I didn't make the mid-meeting, but
No,
just
that's fine.
if you could just very briefly explain why we're seeking out a developmental. Sorry. If you could just very briefly explain why we're seeking a developmental minister rather than a permanent replacement. I just missed
Yep.
somehow that
No problem.
decision.
So it's
if
a
you
little bit
briefly-
of what I spoke to through our research and talking with we did hold three, community conversations as well. So it's input from this congregation as well as our research. And it's a little bit of what I mentioned earlier this morning when I first started talking. The developmental minister allows us to have that transitional period. We have found with research with other congregations that having a called minister come in immediately after the retirement of another minister can cause some discourse challenges within the congregation. So it's kind of that cooling off period. And then when we discovered this awesome new program of the developmental minister, where someone could actually come in with the skill sets that we're trying to work for in the next 3 to 5 years, we felt like it was the best fit in this time of change and transition of our committee. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're ready for the vote. Let's stand up there. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Any abstentions? 1, 2, 4, 5. 5. Okay, passed. 5 abstentions, all the rest in favor, and 1 opposed. We got 1 opposed. So 1 opposed, the rest in favor, and 5 abstentions. Okay. That means it's all approved. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Mike Bowles, Chair of Building for Our Future Task Force. It's 5 after 10. So keep that in mind.
Just 5 minutes would be good.
Good morning. I'm a member of this congregation, and I've been appointed by the board to a task force called Building for Our Future, or BFF for short. This slide lists the people on the task force with me, and if you're here, would you please stand? Phyllis Salter, Christopher Cotton, Vicki Tatarin, Jacob Hathaway, Chaz Sisk, Rob Connor, and our staff liaison is the Minister Gale. Those are people that I'd like you to be aware of if you need to talk to someone on this committee. This is a very exciting time for our congregation. At the last congregational meeting, as you know, a decision was made to build a new church facility at our current location. To achieve that goal, the BFF task force was created by the board with the job of coming up with a plan for a capital campaign to accomplish this, and staged architectural plans for constructing a new facility and dramatically reforming the grounds to properly support it. As you can imagine, this project will be the work of the entire congregation. Over the next year, our task force plans to work hard at soliciting input from many directions. We will try to communicate in a variety of ways to make sure people know what is happening and also to hear their voices. Our initial step has been to contact a capital campaign consultant to help determine a realistic fundraising goal and how to proceed with that campaign. The kind grant just announced by the Trust will make that consultation possible. Over the next few months, we will start trying to identify architects that are interested and appropriate to help us with this project. As that progresses, we hope to share potential visions of our church to be with you. Our charge from the board is to present a plan for a capital campaign and staged construction plan by next June the 1st. That is an aggressive timeline, but we will try to meet it. If you wish to discuss this project, please look for announcements of community meetings or reach out to a member of the task force to share your thoughts and questions. Lastly, thank you all for being willing to embark on this exciting new adventure.
I'd like to recognize our GA delegates who will be installed at the 11 a.m. service. Bill Latimer, Karen Kasler, Mary Early-Zoll, Hampton Howe, Deborah Wilbink, Lori Stevens, Gail Spar, Carlene Dow, and Hal Potts. Take a moment to recognize. Now, last but not least, I'd like to present the Virginia Grantham Award winners. Virginia Grantham's Service Award was established in 2005 to honor individuals whose volunteer contributions to the church have been exemplary. The name of the award stands as a tribute to Virginia Grantham, a longtime leader of the Caring Committee. Her service to FUUN has included thousands of hours devoted to FUUN's preschool children and the wider community. She has been extensively involved with organizations such as Family and Children, Alive Hospice, and the UN Association. A committee drawn from current board members, past award winners, and the professional staff reviewed all nominations, and these two people were chosen. Richard Bird, would you like to come up and read our final winner?
All right. Well, this year's Virginia Grantham Award winner is one of those quiet, always ready to help behind-the-scenes members without whom this church would simply not function. Always willing to help set up for an event and clean up afterwards, this award recipient became a member of this church in November of 2000. He has served in the Caring Committee for many years in several capacities. As a monthly caring coordinator, he has reached out to many church members who are ill or in need of help. And as a professional chef, he has put his skills to work by planning, preparing meals for, and cleaning up after the biannual senior brunches. He has made the comment so many times to his co-volunteers that the senior brunch is important to help our seniors maintain connection with the church, community, and friends. He's a truly living example of our covenant in action. Many times he has coordinated making holiday bags for homebound congregants and delivered them during the holiday season. He's also a star baker for the annual Urban Craft Fair. Along with being a member of the church choir and being at the ready whenever a drum beat is needed to add an extra oomph to a hymn, he has served in the church as the church choir librarian for the past 2 years. After each Sunday with choir, he gathers up between 50 and 68 individual scores and files them with the music library, in the music library. He collects the stragglers after rehearsal and puts them away, ready for the next time. His weekly diligence keeps the job of filing all of this music manageable. His ideas for improved organization systems has made programming and pulling music so much easier. The choir library currently contains 762 titles, and he has counted every copy. For his management of those 24,597 individual scores, we, and I'm sure Jay, are truly grateful. The Virginia Grantham Award goes to Steve Kyle.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to present the final award. This Virginia Grantham Award winner started attending the First UU in 1976 and became a member of the congregation October 1st, 1977. She served on the board as president in the late 1980s at the time we purchased the Morgan House, and as secretary in 2015 and 16 and 17 and 18. She has served on a variety of committees, including fellowship, worship, stewardship. Shortly after joining, she coordinated the annual church retreat to Pickett State Park. Her most recent role has been the chair of the stewardship committee for 2017 and 18 and co-chair for 2018 and 19. The stewardship campaign brought in commitments of over $590,000, the largest amount ever committed. And in the process, made much progress toward creating a culture of year-round stewardship, emphasizing not only financial commitments, but also commitments of time and effort. She attended worship committee meetings every month in order to coordinate speakers for monthly stewardship moments during church services on the third Sunday of the month. She also wrote newsletter articles and weekly bulletin announcements highlighting the commitments of time by various members, and sent thank you notes to all the speakers. She also introduced several new aspects to the campaign, which apparently helped a lot since a new record was set. We are fortunate that she has also agreed to become a trustee for an endowment trust in the upcoming year. This Virginia Grantham Award goes to Candy Toller. Thanks for all your hard work. The names have already been added to this beautiful plaque. So thank you so much. Gail for a closing word.
Okay, everybody, take a deep breath. There's a few people here that deserve a little rest. Your service to the congregation and the democratic process is now over for this moment. And at 11, let the worship service begin.
One more announcement. Remember, if you have a yellow slip for nomination committee, to put it by the sign. Thank you all so much, and we are adjourned.
didn't go wrong.